Good evening, class. This is my video on our teaching dispositions and the questions related to them. To answer the first question, what dispositions do I think that I possess that make me a successful teacher, is I think that I'm always firm but fair. I have a set of expectations. I make sure the expectations are clear to my students, and that the community guidelines, their culture, everything else is very upfront and very clear. And I always make sure that I want them to know that I believe they can genuinely be great at something. All of our students have the ability to learn and be good at anything, as long as they're willing to put in the work to do it, and we're willing to put in the work to find a way to help them be successful in it. I believe that we should always be good role models for our students. I especially believe that as a male in a predominantly female-led field, that I have a higher responsibility to set that example for our young boys, because some of them don't have fathers. Some of them maybe lack that male role model. Or even if they don't, it's still always important to have a lot of male role models. I don't think you necessarily need to have just one or two. So I like to try to be that father figure, that big brother, just that good male role model, someone they can look at and say, that's the way I want to be when I grow up. I always try to dress professionally. This is not very far from how I would normally dress at work. I try to dress up nice. I try to make sure that I speak clearly and eloquently. I don't try to talk down to the kids. I very much so believe that if I use large words and upper vocabulary words, they typically learn how to use those in proper sentences, and that's important for how they're perceived. Your appearance and the way you speak are generally how people will judge your intelligence initially, and I want my students to be in a position to succeed in life. I believe that we as educators always need to be willing to grow and willing to change and willing to go with the flow of new information and try new things. If you're struggling in a topic or struggling to explain a topic to students, ask for help from your other teachers. Ask for help from somebody who's having a lot of success with that subject. See what they're doing differently and see how you can apply that to your own curriculum. And I think we should always be respectful of each other. We should always try to maintain professional relationships. And if you do happen to get into a romantic relationship with your coworkers, make sure you keep it respectful. Make sure that it's like, this is work and that's separate, it's outside. And that if you're having a problem, don't bring it to work, because that's very unprofessional. I think in a few areas I could work on would be my involvement in the community of my school, as far as after school activities and things like that, which I'm hoping to get into more once I'm done with graduate school. It's just very hard to do that with my second job and this schooling. I also believe that we try to have a culture that is fair. I teach in Montessori, so we try to develop our own culture in our own community that's not necessarily a reflection of the cultures outside of our school. Our community and our culture is very important to us, and while we try to be respectful of we are respectful of the religious, obviously dietary, or like if you have a Jehovah's Witness who can't see birthdays, we'll usually remove them from the classroom, take them to a playground while we do the typical Montessori birthday celebration. And just other things like that. Like, we're very respectful of these things, but we hold our own community values very highly, and I believe in that. Maybe I should be looking at other community values to see how that plays in with our children, and maybe that would help me connect with my children more. I feel like I do a very good job, but you always have room to improve in areas, so that's something I should probably look at as well. I believe that having empathy and just a good overall sense of your kids, talking to them, listening to them, taking their issues and problems into account can really help you to reach, connect, and build that trust with the children. And then I believe with my end of the year reviews or things like that, I don't know if they would necessarily change my dispositions unless I was specifically stated that I needed to make adjustments in an area. But I would definitely take it academically. If I'm struggling with English scores, then I may go to my team leader or a team member that is having much better scores and see what are they doing differently from what I'm doing and see how I can implement what they're doing. And offer them the same thing. If they're struggling with science and my children are doing very well and scoring high in science, let them know what I'm doing. Share our lesson plans. Be very transparent because, like I said, in Montessori, we're all a community. So the idea is that while you do have your own class, the other kids are just as important because that's the whole idea. We're trying to build the next generation to be better as a whole. I appreciate your time. I hope I didn't go too far over on my time, and you have a lovely evening.